And on to our next second panel discussion of the day, titled Public Clouds, How Blockchain Technology Impacts Cloud and Infrastructure. I'd like to introduce our moderator from Microsoft, Gerardo Amaya. Gerardo?
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Well, I'm going to try to add some energy now that we know the cocktail is not happening outdoors, right? So that kind of sucks. But anyhow, we have a great panel today. So let me actually just introduce them really quickly, and then we start the conversation rolling. So we have first Dr. Chen Liu. So she is a finance professor at Trinity Western University in Vancouver and co-founder and CFO of CoinChain Capital, Inc. And she conducts research and consulting in fintech, blockchain, business valuation, and startup structuring. So could you please give her a hand? Dr. Liu. And next we have Oscar Roque. Oscar Roque is AVP Mobile Platform and Products at Interact, responsible for digital commerce blockchain strategies. He has previous joining Interact. He led strategy development, innovation, fintech, and blockchain for a major institution. So well-versed in fintech, banks, and everything related to blockchain. So give it a hand to Oscar. Next, we have Roy Lee. Roy Lee, a security expert, IoT expert, doctoral candidate supervisor, Fudan University, former CTO of Nokia North America from the perspective of development platform and mobile. So, and he also has done security consulting services in companies like Simon Tech or VeriSign. So, Roy? Last but not least, Diptendu Samajpati. He's actually my partner in crime in the matters of blockchain. He works at Microsoft. He's actually the global partner manager. So everything related to blockchain and the partnership relationships that we have at Microsoft is it actually goes to him. So give it a hand, Deep. And just as a means of introduction, my role, I work at Microsoft as well. My role is part of the Microsoft Consulting Services. Part of my work is mostly focused in Canada. Driving blockchain implementations is mostly digital transformation. So we normally work on many other technologies. Blockchain is my main technology alongside cloud, IoT, and others. With that, let me just actually start in the topic of cloud. So I'm just gonna actually ask each one of you to give us kind of a 1-minute perspective on the perspective of not only public cloud, but cloud in general. Do you consider that cloud as the enabler or the accelerator of blockchain? Has that been kind of one of the key ingredients that had contributed to the explosion of blockchain? We can start, Doctor.
Can you guys hear me? So I'll start. I'm the least technical person on this panel, so I'll just start. I'm more on the business and then from investor side. So I consider cloud to be a great use case for blockchain, because if you think about this whole idea of being decentralized, so think about so in the morning there's a panel on the application of blockchain. I consider gaming and cloud to be good use case for blockchain. So when it's asked whether it's an enabler or an accelerator, I think cloud is the accelerator of blockchain by providing a good use case. Is decentralized. A lot of the companies we've seen in this area more like blockchain marketplace, cloud marketplace, whereas they enable people to put their extra storage and then put everything together. So I think it's a great use case for blockchain. Thank you.
Oscar, any thoughts?
So the way I view cloud is actually it's a supporting technology for blockchain. So in other words, it houses the blockchain software. So to answer your question, it's all about being an enabling technology for blockchain. The important part about cloud is how it can become an accelerator is to actually enable turnkey solutions to build nodes, to build things that are specific to blockchain that ultimately act as an accelerator to distribution for blockchain, whatever the use case is.
Thank you. Roy?
Okay, in my opinion, I believe that blockchain and cloud are both are enablers. Cloud enables the information exchange, files, content, videos. Or anyone can access anything through cloud. Where a decentralized network provided by blockchain uh, enables the value exchange network. So if you're doing transactions, financing, a ledger, any data that need to be settled, any data that has to be make sure it is legitimate, it's easy to use blockchain. Because the storage is quite expensive for blockchain, uh, it's not easy to store anything, theoretically anything. That's why we only store the most important data that we need to, when their trust can be an issue, or if we want to make sure the data is legitimate. So we only store the settlement data. So both are enablers. They're enabling different things in different aspects. Yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely feel it's an accelerator, because if you think that the decentralization movement has started long back, think about the infrastructure. People don't manage their infrastructure anymore for big organizations. They're putting things on cloud. Think about access management. We have decentralized access management for big enterprises today, for data, for security, for governance. All of this different aspect you have to think about when you create a blockchain engagement or a blockchain solution. So definitely cloud will give you that leverage going forward.
Thank you all. And now let's start having some more in detail discussions. And by the way, we're going to definitely dive in the cloud concept of blockchain, but it's interesting also to go through the business angle of blockchain as well. So we're going to have that mix of conversations through here. But let me actually ask you, Diptendu, from the perspective of infrastructure, is it infrastructure the most important topic when we discuss blockchain? Or if yes or no, what's your take on that?
I would say it's definitely an important aspect when you think about how do you scale a ledger, manage it. Infrastructure is definitely a lot important, but it's not the only aspect that we should think about. If I have to create an end-to-end enterprise-grade blockchain solution, which consists of a lot of different organizations participating together, think about the different elements that will make that blockchain solution successful. Um, as a business owner, I need to see data insights. So I have to do AI and machine learning on the data going on in the ledger. I still have to do access management, so that does the finance team get access to specific data set, or does the operation team get access to it? If you think about supply chain, you have to gather data through IoT devices. So how do you manage thousands of IoT devices and patch them and create solution out of it? So and also, like for big enterprises, if you think about SAP, CRM, or enterprise solutions, or business logics for operation or finance modules, you still have to integrate off-chain data that are lying on those systems, and all of those are running on cloud. So I mean, like, you still have to integrate all of these services with the underlying ledger to drive the whole value set or the value proposition. That's why I think infrastructure is only part of the problem.
Anyone else would like to add?
The most important part, absolutely not. Especially around even just infrastructure, blockchain technology, like those pieces are all technologies. I think the most important part around any type of technology is actually what problem are you trying to solve. You go down back to basics, to the business needs of what problem are you trying to solve, what markets are you trying to solve for, and then you go into the conversations of whether or not a certain technology makes sense.
Absolutely, no. That's a great point. We actually, that's one of the key focuses that we normally advise, is focus on what's the true business problem versus the concept of let's blockchainize anything that we have in front of us, right? Anyone else would like to add something? Or good.
Yeah, I think I could say it's very important. It's a key for infrastructure. Is definitely the key at this time, because we are experiencing a lot of low efficiency issues, or we lack infrastructure to support more applications. That's why we don't see many killer applications in this industry. For example, like scalability, security, all these kind of things. Until we have a mainnet, public mainstream network that is stable enough, or that can be scalable, otherwise we can't apply blockchain for general public. So only a small fraction of people have access to blockchain, or like the Bitcoin fans, or the token users, or all these people. I believe in the future everyone would be able to access blockchain if the barrier of development and the cost of the storage can be lower enough. So just like cell phones, right? I mean, we have smartphones in year 2003, but then 10 years afterwards, everyone is using smartphone. So what happened is that we lowered the cost, we lowered the barrier of the development. We no longer use all this. Development was no longer the pain in the ass. We have so many developers developing applications on Apple, on the Android. That's why we need better infrastructure. For example, in centralized data systems, we have all these settlements. We have a lot of like payment gateways, a lot of infrastructure, a lot of tool chain we can use in this industry. But for blockchain, we're experiencing a lot of encounters where there's no easy payment, even there's no easy payment gateway. There's nothing like Stripe, nothing like Square that works in the blockchain industry. So people are storing their digital asset in Coinbase, in exchanges. This is not what this is supposed to be. We need a better infrastructure. We need better wallets. We need a better applications that enable all the people to use to access blockchain easily. So that's something that I believe that will happen in a couple of years, and then we're going to see a lot of key applications.
I think this is great context. We started talking about how cloud is the enabler. We're not actually focusing only on the technology, but focusing on the actual business problem, and that now we're capturing that there's multiple needs to be addressed. But if I bring back the conversation to a position where I'm willing to start a project on blockchain, or I'm in an organization, corporate or small, medium, and I want to start actually on a blockchain project, I want to really kick it off. And Doctor, if you can give us some advice based on your experience, how can I justify the investment on blockchain in my organization, or even my idea? How can I start, and what's the path of success in that regard?
So how to justify the use of blockchain in one specific organization? So we've seen different organizations in different industries, countries, and then of different sizes. And what we find is for large organizations, it's relatively easy to justify. Like Walmart, they're using the supply chain solutions, so it's easy for them to justify because number one, they have the money to do so, they have the scale capacity to do so, they have the influence that they can impact their supplier to do so. So that's for large organizations. They have basically the capacity to do so. And then so I most focus on medium and small organizations and businesses. What I found is for small businesses, it's very hard to justify because blockchain is costly. Right? If you want to have a true blockchain product, not just ICO, but a full-scale product, it's costly. So it's become unaffordable for small businesses. And then focusing on the medium ones are the ones that they could afford. But these days we see medium-sized companies, they try to join forces to develop blockchain technology. That's why you see a lot of consortium. You see the R3, you see even the Hyperledger putting everyone together. And then when it comes to within the organization, you have to think about how is that everyone having the same view on adopting blockchain. Recently, I have several NGOs contacting me saying, hey, how do we I've heard this buzzword blockchain. How do I put blockchain in my business model? You really need to have an in-depth analysis of whether you really need it. It all comes to a cost-benefit analysis. How much does it cost you? Not just a pure direct cost you pay for someone to develop it for you, but also the cost within your organization. Is your organization ready to accept it? We're talking to a direct selling company. They're considering putting a blockchain in their system, but then they realize, okay, so if we use a blockchain, we are getting rid of a lot of medium layers managers. So it all comes, our organization is willing, and then so you need to prepare the money, you need to prepare the infrastructure, technology, but also your organization, your team, to see whether it's worth it. But in the end, it's all the cost benefit. It's all. I'm a financial economist by training. It's all about whether you're able to use the technology, have a good business model, have a good design. If you're using token, have a good design of your token.
Just to finalize and to add a question, just to close it up, I'm getting the timer here. If you could, to each one of you, if you could quickly summarize, if there's something that you can advise the audience to keep in mind when you're envisioning or thinking or planning your blockchain solution or application, what would that be? If we can start with Deep and then we come through there.
I think we have touched upon those points, like many of us. It's like thinking about the business problem we are trying to solve. Blockchain really helps in when you are trying to collaborate across or outside your organization's trust boundary. So that you are interacting with your end suppliers or partners. That's a great use case, and also like where we could do away with the intermediaries. That's drive a lot of value. But then again, like you could think about not reinventing the wheel of, hey, do I have to create a block? If I think about a blockchain engagement, should I start from creating the infrastructure, creating all of those connections? I think like you shouldn't think on those lines, because most of the, like what Microsoft is doing is actually creating out a toolkit to help you actually deploy with one click blockchain ledger and manage it. We'll manage it for you, but we'll also create the connections with all the services that I was speaking about. So you could actually create a very quick POC and get started and have quick iteration to create a specific line of business solution, and then explore and create a production level solution. So you could leverage such platforms going forward.
Thank you, Roy.
My words to the audience is let's focus more on the engineering instead of the scientists. Thanks to those scientists, they got our attention. They brought us the really good market. However, we are experiencing a lot of engineering issues. For example, like many people believe the sharding is the next trend for blockchain. However, the sharding on contracts could be a pain in the ass. For example, like we sometimes experiencing the dependency issues. Like if you let's say if I transfer $100, first I have to check the balance, then I have to unlock the account if it's possible, and then I transfer 100 some kind of token to you. The problem for that mechanism is that we can't do it we can't apply parallel execution because one action requires the other as a prerequisite.
We're a little bit short in time, so just if you mind just
I know, that's the only example I'm going to give. So this type of things exists in almost in the entire industry. We experience like hundreds of millions of this type of small problems that can be fatal. So my words is that for the past few years are the years for the blockchain scientists, computer scientists. The next few years will be the years for the engineers. Only the best engineers, they're gonna make all the efforts into our real life. They're gonna put all these crypto algorithms. They're gonna put all these mechanisms. They're whatever fancy stuff in the white papers. They're gonna implement all those things with their coding. The next years will be years for engineering. So that's something that we should focus more from now on.
Thank you.
I'm gonna make this quick. So 2 things to focus on a blockchain project. Number 1, don't go down a rabbit hole. Don't do it for the sake of doing it. Do not do that. Number 2, assuming you've got a business problem to solve for, If you've got a proper economic model, financial model, all that good stuff, you have to focus from the get-go on network effect and the governance of that network effect.
Thank you.
I'll just add on to what he just mentioned. Oscar just mentioned. It's all you need to have a top-down approach. You have to have the organization agree on it. So it's not just your tech team driving it. It's not just someone from the technology says, "Hey, let's do blockchain." You have to have this consensus among your whole organization, top-down, and then all your stakeholders, including your shareholders. They need to understand what you're doing.
Thank you very much. And just in the interest of time, we want to give value out of the entire conference, but I think most of us will stay around if you have any questions. But thank you very much, and let's keep the conference rolling. Thank you.
Thank you, Gerardo, and all of the panelists. Very insightful information today.